The situation in the Middle East is reaching a boiling point, with tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States escalating to their highest levels in recent memory. For decades, this has been a shadow war, fought through proxies, covert operations, and economic sanctions. But recent events have dragged this conflict out into the open, and the world is holding its breath. What's really going on, and how did we get here? Let's break it down. To understand today's headlines, we need to look back. The story really begins in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution, which replaced a US-backed monarchy with an Islamic republic. This instantly transformed Iran from a key American ally into a staunch adversary. From that point on, Iran's foreign policy has been defined by its opposition to American influence and its deep-seated animosity towards Israel, which it views as an illegitimate state and a proxy for Western power in the region. Over the years, Iran has built what's known as the Axis of Resistance, a network of allied governments and militant groups across the Middle East. This includes Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, various militias in Iraq and Syria, and Hamas in Gaza. Through this network, Iran can project power far beyond its borders, challenging its rivals without engaging in direct conventional warfare. This strategy has been incredibly effective at bogging down its adversaries and asserting its influence. On the other side of this equation is Israel. For Israel, the primary existential threat is a nuclear-armed Iran. Israeli leaders have repeatedly stated they will do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. This has led to a long-running campaign of sabotage against Iran's nuclear facilities. Targeted assassinations of Iranian scientists and military figures, and cyber attacks. Israel sees Iran's network of proxies, especially Hezbollah with its massive rocket arsenal on Israel's northern border, as a direct and constant danger. The United States has been deeply entangled in this conflict for decades. As Israel's closest ally, Washington provides immense military and financial support. American policy has oscillated between diplomatic engagement and intense pressure. The 2015 nuclear deal, known as the JCPOA, was a landmark attempt at diplomacy. It offered Iran relief from crippling economic sanctions in exchange for strict limits on its nuclear program. However, the U.S. withdrew from this deal in 2018 under a new administration, reimposing what it called a maximum pressure campaign of sanctions. This move dramatically increased tensions, pushing Iran to restart and accelerate its nuclear enrichment activities. So, what has changed recently to bring this long-simmering conflict to a head? It's been a rapid-fire series of escalation. A key flashpoint was the recent strike on an Iranian consulate building in Damascus, Syria. This attack killed several high-ranking Iranian military commanders, including a top general from the Quds Force, the elite foreign operations arm of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Iran immediately blamed Israel for the attack. An attack on a diplomatic mission is considered an attack on the country's sovereign territory, crossing a major red line. Iran's leadership was under immense pressure to respond. Not retaliating would have been seen as a sign of weakness, both at home and among its regional allies. So, for the first time in history, Iran launched a direct military assault on Israeli territory from its own soil. This involved a massive wave of over 300 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. It was a highly telegraphed move, designed to be a show of force. The attack itself was largely unsuccessful in causing major damage. Israel, with significant help from the United States, the UK, Jordan, and other partners, intercepted an estimated 99% of the incoming projectiles. Their multi-layered air defense system, including the famous Iron Dome, David's sling and arrow systems, performed exceptionally well. The world watched in real time as these defensive systems lit up the night sky, neutralizing the threat. While a young girl was seriously injured by shrapnel and a military base sustained minor damage. The attack was, from a purely military perspective, a defensive victory for Israel and its allies. However, the strategic implications are profound. The unwritten rules of the game have been shattered. Iran demonstrated its willingness and capability to strike Israel directly, a psychological barrier that has now been broken. This forced Israel into a difficult position. The international community, led by the U.S., urged restraint, fearing a wider regional war. But Israel's government felt compelled to retaliate, to restore deterrence, and show that any attack on its sovereignty would have consequences. And so, Israel responded. Reports emerged of a limited, calibrated strike near a major airbase and nuclear site in the Iranian city of Isfahan. The details were murky, but it appeared to be a carefully targeted operation designed to send a clear message. We can reach you, we can bypass your defenses, and we can strike sensitive sites at will. By not causing massive damage or casualties, the Israeli response seemed intended to de-escalate the situation while still making a powerful point, giving Iran an off-ramp to avoid a full-scale war. This brings us to where we are now, in a state of fragile and uncertain calm. Both sides have demonstrated their capabilities. Iran showed it can and will launch a direct attack. Israel and its allies showcased their incredible defensive superiority and their ability to penetrate Iranian airspace for a precision strike. Both sides have, for now, seemingly stepped back from the brink of a major regional conflict that could have devastating consequences for the global economy and security. What happens next? The situation remains incredibly volatile. One miscalculation, one unauthorized action by a proxy group, or one political decision driven by domestic pressure could easily reignite the conflict. The shadow war is likely to continue. We can expect more covert operations, cyber attacks, and clashes involving proxy forces across the region. The nuclear issue remains the central, most dangerous element. Iran is now closer than ever to having enough enriched uranium for several nuclear weapons. While U.S. intelligence agencies believe Iran hasn't yet decided to build a bomb, its advanced capabilities mean it could potentially do so on short notice. This nuclear threshold status is a constant source of anxiety for Israel and the international community. The economic fallout is also significant. Any major conflict in the Middle East threatens to disrupt oil supplies passing through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for global energy markets. We've already seen oil prices fluctuate with every new development, and a full-blown war could send energy prices soaring, impacting economies worldwide. For the people living in the region, the fear is constant. In Israel, citizens live with the threat of rocket attacks. In Iran, the population grapples with a struggling economy crushed by sanctions and the fear of a devastating war. And in countries like Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, civilians are often caught in the crossfire of this larger geopolitical struggle. Ultimately, the path forward is uncertain. Diplomacy has been sidelined, and the channels for de-escalation are weak. The United States is trying to walk a tightrope, supporting its ally Israel while desperately trying to prevent a wider war that it does not want to be dragged into. For now, a tense quiet has settled, but the underlying conflicts are far from resolved. The world is watching the Middle East, hoping that the logic of de-escalation prevails over the drive for retribution. The next move from any of the key players could determine whether the region steps back from the abyss or plunges into a conflict that no one can truly win. Thanks for watching. This is a complex and rapidly evolving story, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated as we continue to cover these critical developments. We appreciate you joining us to understand the forces shaping our world. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.